frost over the world. At this time on Al Jazeera.
Hello, welcome back. You're with Al Jazeera. The main developments on our top story. Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi has made a second televised appearance in less than 24 hours, accusing Western nations of trying to control Libyan oil and wealth. In the last hour, we've received reports that 3 of Muammar Gaddafi's private planes have taken off from Tripoli, and 1 is said to have landed in Egypt. Forces loyal to Gaddafi are reportedly closing in on the western town of AlJazeera. Witnesses say tanks are, quote, everywhere, and there are concerns that the nearby oil refinery may be caught up in the conflict. And Gaddafi's planes continue to bomb targets in eastern Libya, most of which is now held by the rebels. The strategically important oil city of Ras Al Hanouf has seen intense fighting in the last 24 hours. Let's speak to Tariq Youssef, who's from Benghazi in Libya and is Dean of the Dubai School of Government. Good to have you with us. First of all, let's talk about the fighting and the increased fight back by Gaddafi's forces. Is there a feeling that Gaddafi or his forces have held back somewhat until now and maybe preparing to unleash their full forces?
Absolutely. I think the last 24 hours have been largely positive for Gaddafi and his loyal troops. They've pushed back the rebels from Bin Jawad. They've drawn a line in the sand 200 kilometers east of Sirte. They've consolidated their gains in Tripoli. And they're trying to retake Zawiya, Libya's 4th largest city with an important refinery and one that's closest to Tripoli. So he's solidifying his hold on the cities where he has control. And he's reasserting the image that not only am I defiant, but I'm also in charge and I'm willing to surprise you, both on the ground, militarily, but also politically, by sending the feeler that he might be negotiating with the Libyan National Council. I think all of these tactics designed to create confusion, send mixed messages, buy him time, allow him to take the initiative and project the image that he's still in charge.
I suppose on the one hand, time might be running out for him because it seems that the international community are moving closer to coming up with some kind of decision on the no-fly zone. But we still have countries like the US saying that they won't do anything without a UN mandate. Is that the right decision?
Possibly not the right decision, but practically from the perspective of the US, a decision that is driven not only by the need to go back to the UN, but by perhaps European insistence that they need to take the lead role. And it would seem to be the case that the US would want Europe to take the role here, both logistically, militarily, and politically. After all, its forces are overstretched in Iraq and in Afghanistan.
Why does the US or the EU have to take the lead role? What about the African Union? What about the Arab League? I mean, do they not have the authority to act under their own mandate?
They have the authority, but they simply don't have the capability to deliver on that mandate. So a no-fly zone would require European, American cooperation, NATO perhaps initiative. The Arabs and the Africans have come to the view that a no-fly zone is not only a moral necessity, but a political necessity, and have passed recommendations and resolutions. But it's going to be up to the Europeans and the Americans to sort out who takes the lead, who foots the bill essentially, and who subjects their own soldiers to the line of fire in the process of implementing this no-fly zone. And I think we can expect a no-fly zone to perhaps be imposed and the UN to bless it in the next few days. But the process leading up to it is proven to be especially slow.
Tariq, thanks very much indeed for that. Tariq Youssef there. Now to Tunisia, where a court has dissolved the party of ousted President Zine El Abidine Ben Ali. The Constitutional Democratic Rally, or RCD, was suspended last month pending the court's ruling. Ben Ali used the party as a way to maintain power during his almost 2 decades as leader. Hundreds of protesters in Kuwait are also calling for change. In rallies on Tuesday night, demonstrators urged the Prime Minister to step down. They were forced to change venue at the last minute after the authorities closed a square in the centre of Kuwait City. And hundreds of Iraqi workers have been protesting in Baghdad, calling for better salaries. They also want to see improvements in national industries. Thousands of Iraqis have taken to the streets in recent weeks, with some rallies turning violent. They want to reduce corruption and unemployment while improving the quality of public services. In Yemen, a protester has reportedly died of gunshot wounds a day after security forces fired on protesters, injuring at least 75 people. Government loyalists were trying to stop people joining hundreds of others who've been camped outside Sana'a University for weeks. Hashim Albra has the latest from Sana'a.
Security beefed up around the university square. Fury building in the aftermath of the deadly assault by security forces on these protesters. Spent ammunition and tear gas canisters litter the ground. The government says its act was prompted by the discovery of a cache of weapons. Allegations dismissed by the students who erected tents in this square, which has become the epicenter of the pro-democracy movement.
It was organised crime. Groups of security forces came from all directions and armed soldiers were positioned on the roofs of buildings. They started firing on us. It was followed by volleys of shots. It's a crime against humanity.
Violence is spreading across the country. In the province of Dhamar, a President Saleh stronghold, loyalists are seen here attacking the protesters despite the presence of security forces. Government pledges to stop the violence fail to deter loyalists armed with weapons, batons and daggers, spreading fear across the country. The ongoing attacks spurred these tribal leaders in the province of Marib to denounce President Saleh and join the protesters in their fight for a change in Yemen. Marib is home to most of Yemen's oil fields.
Mr. President, don't treat your people like Gaddafi. Mr. Saleh, don't disgrace your legacy. We implore you to leave Yemen and let the Yemenis decide their future.
For the time being, the embattled president clings to power. He has called for a national forum on Thursday to seek a peaceful solution to Yemen's deepening crisis.
But the crisis isn't showing any signs of relenting. Parts of the country appear to be slipping beyond the control of the government, and the protesters reject calls for dialogue with President Saleh still in power. Hashim Albra, AlJazeera, Sana'a.
In Côte d'Ivoire, the army has fired upon crowds marching against incumbent President Laurent Gbagbo, killing 4 people. That's according to witnesses in Abidjan. Women have been rallying there since last Thursday's attack by troops on a group of unarmed women demonstrators. 6 women were killed. The protesters back Alassane Ouattara, the internationally recognised winner of November's election. Japan has been jolted by a major earthquake. So far, there's no report of damage or casualties. The 7.2 quake struck under the sea around 160 kilometres off the coast of Honshu Island. A tsunami alert was issued, prompting many residents to seek higher ground. But in the